Welcome to State of Tech. My name's Jared, and I wanted to talk about the 10-year anniversary of the iPhone and just why Apple hasn't earned my money lately. So 10 years ago, this phone was announced. Steve Jobs got up in front of a bunch of people and talked about a new phone that was just going to change our lives. And it really did. I mean, it's not that it was the first phone to do what it did. It's just, it was the first phone that was built that had a beautiful design, that was easy to use, it was timely. I mean, everything aligned perfectly for the first iPhone to be announced. And I went out right away and bought that phone. This is my very first iPhone right here. I went big and got the 8 GB version. So this is an 8 GB original iPhone, and it still works. It still powers up, but it's on such an old version of iOS that it doesn't really do a whole lot. But regardless, it changed the way I used a phone. I mean, I had semi-smartphones prior to that. I had, phones with Windows Mobile on it or whatever it was called back then. And, none of them were just super useful. I mean, they had usefulness. They just weren't enjoyable to use. And the iPhone came out and it just made that enjoyable. Now, prior to that, I had switched over to being a Mac user. And when I switched over to being a Mac user in 2001, which I actually was a Mac user in my childhood, we had an Apple II and an Apple II GS, and that took me all the way through elementary school and into high school. And then, Macs just weren't really doing a whole lot, so I switched to PC for a few years, got into building PCs and using them. And then in 2001, I got a PowerBook G4. And that just changed the way that I edited video, and I was writing a lot of code for websites and web development back then, and I started doing that on a Mac, and it just really changed my life because it was a small, powerful computing package that I could tote around with me. Whereas if I was trying to do that with Windows, I needed this monstrosity of a computer or a laptop just to accomplish the same thing. And so for a lot of years, I was all about Apple products, and not simply because, the Kool-Aid tastes good, but simply because they were easy to use, they were nice looking devices, and they were compact, very portable, and I was able to go and be anywhere with my technology, which was great. And, all the way up until about a few years ago, I didn't question that. There was no need to switch or even consider PCs, Windows. There was no real concern to other phone platforms. I mean, I've been an Android user as well since Android first came out, and I've had countless Android phones trying to find an Android phone that would handle the usage that I put through on a phone that an iPhone handles every single time. So I chased that Android for a long time, never even considered PCs though. PCs were evil and to be avoided. Up until a few years ago, when I started really going after Android and wanting to find that perfect Android device, because I just felt innovation had slowed with the iPhone. There wasn't anything really that new or exciting. Apple was, getting more excited about their watch and talking about their watch than they were talking about doing anything interesting to their phone. They were putting little bells and whistles into their phone every year, making it a little bit faster, but it really wasn't doing anything for me. I didn't have that feeling that I got every year, or at least every couple of years, when they would come out with an iPhone that just truly had some cool new features in it. The price just wasn't justifying what was being released every single year. And I really started to feel that even in the last couple of years with their computers. I mean, their computers have never been the most powerful. Everybody knows that you could build a PC that's more powerful for a lot less than you could buy a Mac. But the thing is that a Mac was always powerful enough for me. I could always edit photos and video easily from my Mac. Never had a problem. I didn't maybe needed to get a more maxed out Mac laptop or iMac or something like that, but I was able to accomplish everything and accomplish it in a timely manner. Up until about a year ago when I really started looking at PCs because I knew Apple just wasn't putting out a Mac that was powerful enough for me. And so I started moonlighting a little bit with PCs and definitely was leaning more on Android because the Android devices that were coming out had much better cameras. They started to have better processors and displays, and all the things were starting to go into the Android phones that were actually better than what was in an iPhone. Now, when the Google Pixel came out, and the Google Pixel is this phone here, I got this phone and I haven't looked back. I haven't had an iPhone since, and I know that's only been maybe about 3 or 4 months, but the Google Pixel is the best phone on the market right now, and there are some strong competitors to it, but they're all Android. The iPhone is an iPhone. You know what you're gonna get. You're not gonna get anything special. It's an iPhone. It really doesn't even have any prestige to it anymore. And that's really a bummer because I remember a time when I would go out and get an iPhone, and having an iPhone was a thing not everybody had. And not because of the cost. I mean, of course, the iPhone's always been expensive, but because most people didn't understand it, didn't understand their need for it. And the iPhone was one of those things that was just technology beyond what an average person needed. And now it's what everybody has is an iPhone. And the same thing with laptops. You know, everybody has a MacBook or a MacBook Pro. And these days, because it's a consumer market for Apple, they serve their consumer market. They're not serving their prosumer or their pro market anymore. They haven't updated their Mac Pro in ages. It is now extremely outdated, and for somebody to go and buy a new Mac Pro today, why would you do that? That's throwing away money. So the concept of this whole video is to just discuss the fact that Apple just hasn't earned my money lately. I have no problem paying for something when it really makes an effect on my life, when the technology is leading edge, when it is something new and exciting, when I pick it up and I use that device, it does something for me. Not just getting the job done or whatever, being the bare minimum, but actually improving my experience. And the iPhone and the Mac products just haven't done that lately. And it's an unfortunate thing because they are beautiful. The new MacBook Pro is a beautiful looking device. It's extremely tiny, it's lightweight, it's a great looking device. I haven't owned one. It's the first laptop since my PowerBook G4 that I have not bought. I have bought the new version every time their laptop comes out, and this is the first time that I haven't bought one. And I did go and buy an iPhone 7, but I sold it about a month and a half later, right after getting my Google Pixel, and now I don't own an iPhone at all, except for my old decommissioned iPhones. So it's really a bummer because Apple has always been known for their fancy keynotes where they drop really cool products that make people clap and oohs and ahs and all that stuff. And these days, there just isn't that feel. I watched the last Apple keynote that they talked about the Apple TV and even just new things about the Apple TV. People can't get excited about it. It's just not interesting anymore. And I don't think it's Tim Cook's delivery methods. It's just their products are not interesting. Their products are not innovative anymore. All their products is enough to continue selling to the people who think that Apple is the way to go, and it just isn't the case anymore. And I hope that Apple does pivot and head back in that direction. It certainly doesn't seem like they are, but I really hope that they do pivot and go back in that direction because I believe in that company still. I believe that they can turn around and just get out of we're in this for the profit and increasing our profit margin and actually start to innovate and create products that are new and different and that stand out from the others. So if you are considering or thinking about, do I go Mac or PC? Do I go iPhone or Android? don't even necessarily think about it from a brand name. Think about it from a feature set and what you actually need it for. Is a Windows PC actually going to be a better choice for you over a Mac? Not because it has a logo on it of a certain sort, not because it may be thinner necessarily by a millimeter or two, but that it actually has the features that you need. There's absolutely no reason anymore to buy a Mac simply because it's a Mac. PCs are fantastic these days, not the PCs of the past anymore. And Android has came a long way. It is no longer a platform for nerds or for the more tech savvy. It is a platform for those who want a device that fits their lifestyle. And there are devices for every single lifestyle. So definitely consider your options these days instead of just mindlessly walking into the consumer engine, which is Apple these days. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I know that this sounds like I may be bashing Apple. I am not. I am still a fan of Apple. Should Apple come out with a more powerful laptop, something that has modern processing technology, something that has a modern graphics technology pushing it, I would most definitely switch back to Apple, because there are aspects of the Mac OS operating system that I find extremely better than Windows 10. However, when it comes down to horsepower and getting things done, I need the machines in my life that can get the work done without sitting around and waiting for things to load all day. So let me know what you think in the comment section below of this video. I know this was more of an opinion piece, but I think it's timely considering the 10-year anniversary of the iPhone. Apple, of course, has seen some great success over the last 10 years, and I just hope, and I actually hope and pray that they are able to turn it around before too many people that are the decision makers, the more early adopters, jump ship from Apple and start going in other directions like I have started to do. So comments below, like this video if you liked it, and make sure to subscribe to our channel so that you get notified when we put out more videos. Love to hear your opinion below on this. I know it's a strong opinion that a lot of people have, but let's talk about it in the comment section below. Thanks so much for checking out our video today. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time here on State of Tech.